you asshole. Wow. Okay, welcome back once again. On the scene is your guy, 9. That is me. And I'm back here for your mythological queries, right? All your questions about mythology, we're going to answer here right now. So I'm glad you guys are in. There's already a couple people in the room. Always appreciative of you guys stopping on by, giving me a little bit of your time, sharing just a bit of your day with me. I'm just updating because I want to make sure that these software, these streaming softwares, man, they put you through the paces, man. They want you to be grateful for every single time you're able to successfully freaking live stream, right? And I am. I'm not going to joke with you guys. I'm always happy to be on live stream. It's actually one of the highlights of my day. Like, not that my day is bad or anything like that. I'm just checking on some comments, man. So yeah, absolutely. We're back and we're going to talk about some really fun stuff. And I wanted to talk about these guys, which are, gaming and mythology. And this isn't just so I can try to get gamers to watch my channel, right? I'm not talking about 3 of the most popular games of all time just to try to get gamers to come look at my channel. I would not even do that, right? So if you're out there and you're a gamer, and you're watching this, I didn't do that just so you guys would start looking at my channel and seeing all the mythology that goes down in gaming. I didn't do that because I think there's a natural connection between mythology and gaming. I didn't do it because I'm myself. Like, I am also a gamer, and I'm not no BS gamer. Like, first of all, you guys know me. If you know me, you know me. And you know that I'm all about this mythology life. Like, I literally been repping this mythology life my entire life. As long as I've been on the scene, I've been repping mythology, right? I started reading mythology books at like 7, 8 years old out of the public library, right? So like 40 something plus years ago, like 40, like, man, a lot of years ago in the 40s, in addition to being 7. And now I'm here talking about this stuff, right? Still talking about mythology. I'm still reading. People were like, yeah, you're never going to change. They said that to me. You were right, homie. I never changed. I never changed very much about me. Just my size, the t-shirt got bigger. But you can see I'm repping my VOT International today. I did an internship with VOT a few years back. I won't get into it, but let's say I had a bad incident with the Deep as well. Okay, like me and Annie are united in that. F that guy. But I'm here to talk to you about The Boys, which is going to be coming up soon. I'll be talking about The Boys a little bit. Not because I want that audience to kind of see the mythological connections. Well, I'm not doing it for that purposes, right? I'm not talking about gaming because I want gamers to come and watch me and know I'm also a gamer and I see the connection, right? And I have a full-on gaming rig. Like, I'm a PC gamer, right? My best homie's a console gamer, and yeah, we don't get along like that, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, why spend this much on a console? Just bump it up and buy a desktop or a laptop, and you're good. Get a gaming rig, right? So, there was a big gap. Like, I understood for a long time, and he's a savvy guy. He's just like, that's his culture. That, so he's got a bunch of an extensive amount of old game systems. right? And I kind of don't have that. I haven't really kept any. Like I had a PS3 for a while, and I moved, and I just didn't want to keep it, so I sold it to a friend of mine. Still worked, right? And it had a copy of Civilization. What was it, like 5 or something? Which was my favorite one? It was Civilization Revolution, which the current games actually never actually even get close to that. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about gaming culture and mythologies. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the gamer culture is keeping mythology growing, right? At least it's still growing. I don't know. Like, they're exposing a lot more people to mythology in ways that I wouldn't have thought, like the millions, like the high numbers of millions and millions of people who watch games, who are watching games now, right? Or playing, or know these names. Like, at least you know these names. Man, I need to share this. I'm not looking clear right there. So we're going to talk about some of the biggest ones. And I don't know if it's a good thing, because gamers often change a lot about gaming. And I don't know if what they change in gaming or change in mythology is actually good for mythology. So one of the things that I always talk about when I talk about myths is that myths don't mean anything without historical context, right? The story that we hear about Kratos now is very different than the story you would have heard about Kratos 1,000 years ago, right? He's a whole different dude. He's brand new. He's fresh out the box. He's stronger and more violent than ever. He is a centerpiece character, where in mythology, he was more of just like a sideline guy. Wasn't that important. I think he's one of Zeus's sons legitimately, but you're one of the sons I don't even care about. You're not even as good as Perseus, right? That's where Kratos sits. So to understand, Kratos, we got to understand who Kratos was. So this is important to see his change over time. Because if I didn't already know his myth in some way, I would have absolutely believed that this is who he was. That's who he is now. But again, we're just turning pages of the calendar. So I want to talk to you guys about some of the most powerful video games, some of the most, as far as driving the story, the narrative on myth characters. And there's some good ones. And there's a debate over whether it's good or not. And we can talk about that too. Again, I am a gamer, but I'm a gamer who kind of was rooted in mythology. I love seeing the gods in games. Like I do. I love playing games where there's gods in it, or ancient culture. That's why I was all into Civilization Revolution, because it's all about like cultures and great kingdoms and stuff like that. So I'm 100% down with that, right? So let's talk about like these are like the triad of games. Like, you got to be up on these games if you're into mythology and gaming. Like, this absolutely makes sense. So the first one obviously is God of War, right? And God of War is like at the top. Let me move my logo off this face here, right? God of War is obviously at the top of the list, at least right now. This is a franchise that launched in 2005, and it's become probably, arguably, realistically, one of the most influential mythology-based game franchises ever. This is all time. Like, God of War came on the scene and just like hammered it down. And I think you benefited a lot from a great selection of a name. Even though I'm pretty sure Kratos himself was not a god of war. I think he was known for strength. That's what I know about him in mythology. So he's definitely not a god of war. And in that Greek culture, like, honestly, if you would have said god of war, you would think I'm thinking about Ares. This is based on the Greek culture in the first game. It would shift to a Norse culture. But they already had obviously a couple of deities that they would have said were their gods, right? So this isn't the main god. This was developed by Santa Monica Studio. This is obviously an action game. It has it's this new style of gaming. If you're not up on it, it's cinematic narrative combat, right? Where you get these lavish stories and these great graphics, and then they funnel you into moments where you can just get your scrap on, which is what you came there to do in the first place, right? But this game has been divided into two kind of mythological eras, which is why they're so big. Initial run was the Greek saga, which started in 2005. That was God of War 2005. After that, you got God of War 2 and God of War 3. After that, you get into the Norse saga. So this is God of War, which re-released in 2018. And then there's God of War Ragnarok. So this is an extensive series that gives you a lot of look at least those two cultures in terms of mythology, right? So this is it. So this is a game where if mortal could defeat the gods. Now, again, if I understand Kratos right, he was not a mortal. He was a lesser god, just like kind of an unknown god, who Zeus is like, yeah, whatever. Okay. But he gets angry and he takes on this mission to actually destroy the gods. So he actually, that's kind of the fun of it, is you get to fight against all the gods on the way up. So it is cool in the sense that it's like you go from fighting Glass Joe, like you guys get it, right? If you guys are legit, if you really come from these streets of gaming, then you remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which was like on the fringes of the start of it for people in my generation. And I ain't gonna say that about it, but right, that's who we are. I'm not gonna say what generation we are, but right, you know that already. X, right? So we started off early with like understanding the rising up to the top and getting the boss, Shinobi, all that stuff. Mike Tyson's Punch Out. So this is what this game emulates, but it gives us this whole mythological background. And it covers, Greek mythology with Olympus, the Titans, the Greek underworld, and a lot of the Greek monsters are all featured in this particular series. And then, so you get all that. And then he shifts and they do the Norse pantheon. And at that, you get, of course, the 9 realms. You get the Aesir and the Vanir, because there's 2 sets of gods that exist there, right? There's 2 sets of gods. You get the Ragnarok prophecy and all that comes with us. All that, and then you get the giants and the ruin magic. So you get a lot in this series, and it works very well from a storytelling structure, right? It absolutely works. It's a well done game. I will say that the characters are very compelling. Obviously, artwork is at the highest level. So what you get through all these characters, right? Through all these games, you get to mess with Zeus. You got Ares. You got Athena. You get Thor, of course. You get Odin, of course. And you get Freya. So it's not just a mythological background, it's a battlefield. And the guys that you can play with, you go through several stages, right? You start off as, this is kind of cool. This is inspired, so it's inspired by the minor Greek deity, Kratos, but the character himself gets an entirely new mythological like hero. He is really new, right? They borrow the name and like who he was, and they change him. So he really starts off as a human in the game. Though he wasn't in mythology, because nobody ever actually fought their way from being a human to I'm gonna slap Zeus. That didn't happen. There's no mythology about that, right? I don't even know if Zeus would allow that to be written down. So he starts off as a Spartan warrior. He elevates to being the servant of Ares, to the destroyer of Olympus, to the exile in the Norse world, to a father seeking redemption. So these later games introduce more playable mythic features. You get Loki is revealed, a character like Loki's kind of moving under a different name. But then you also get a lot of the really good elements, like you get the Minotaur, the Cyclops, you get Medusa, you get Fenrir, right? You get a lot of stuff moving into this series. They don't hold back, man. They give you a lot. I pulled some images because I'm like, yeah, you gotta see, like it's real like high end on what they give you. Like this is just kind of some battle scenes. Like it's tough with God of War because they don't like to let you download anything out of the series. This is some of the older versions of it, but you're gonna get the full ride. Like you see, you getting some monsters, you get some other deities, you get everything in here. In the Norse version, the newer versions, you get the Fenrir wolf, you get the Dragar, right? I think Dragar. I thought that was like the bracelet, but whatever. You get the Midgard serpent. So these creatures all are the boss encounters, right? So the Midgard serpent is your boss battle, and that's a lot, man. That's even more fearsome than having to fight your way through Glass Joe to get all the way to Mike Tyson, right? So this is what we get all along the way. So they're filling it up with mythology. It's actually really filled up with mythology. You gotta understand the parts that are fake to appreciate the parts that are real, and that's kind of the thing. They are changing the narrative. More people will know this myth of Kratos than people who remember his old original like story from Greek myth. Maybe. I mean, there's millions of people around the world still reading that stuff. I don't know if they're getting to Kratos. I'm just being really honest with you, Kratos, as I call him K, right? I don't know if they're really getting all the way down to you and doing deep profiles. So I'm thinking most people right now are getting this version of Kratos in this very modern world where we, can create games in a year and sell and distribute them all over the world. It has changed how mythology travels, and it's also changed who has control of spreading this myth. And I'm not saying anything bad about gamer guys, but it is gamer guy. And as a gamer guy, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how much influence you want us to have over anything. I'm just saying that because I know, like, I play games where I laughed at blowing up a bunch of people. And I'm not saying that says a lot about me, but it does, okay? So this is what we get. We get, like, the divine weapons. So it's not just gods and characters. You get the divine weapons show up. You get rune magic. You get elemental abilities, right? You get god level strength. So it's got, like, we're satisfying a lot of stuff for our brain computers, right? Our brain computers are just sucking up all this. I'm flossing as a god. Like, I'm out here and I'm just shredding it right now as a god. So that's what we get out of him. Signature weapons, the Leviathan weapon, or the Leviathan axe, the blades of chaos, and the Dropnir spear. Like, Dropnir, man, I feel like Dropnir was something else in Greek in Norse mythology. I gotta look this up, man. I really gotta look this up because this is throwing me off. Okay, let me just ask. Okay, let me copy this because I don't want it to be screwed up by the name. But what is this item here? When you hear this name coming from Greek mythology, I thought this was Odin's bracelet, right? Am I correct on this? Let me drop this in here because I think this was a golden bracelet. I think they might have hijacked the name, but I'm just doing a quick overcheck for some authenticity on this, right? Like, let's drop this in here and see what it gives me. Because I always feel like they're listing Dropnir as a spear. Like, I remember Odin had a spear, and it was Gungnir, right? I meant Norse. Yeah. This is kind of weird because they call it a spear, and this is one of the most important weapons that in Odin's power. This is kind of where he got a lot of his, like, because it's money, right? This is what it is. And now it's curious, and I'm going to show you guys this right now, right? Got an image of it here. Okay. So they list this as, they use this name, which is Dropnir. It's a golden ring. In this story, it's an axe, right? In this story, it's a spear, which is kind of weird. Like, okay, let me ask. Okay. But in God of War, the Norse version, they represent this as a spear, right? Like, what's up with that? Because again, this is one of them subtle things, man. Like, if you don't know your mythology already, this is gonna throw you off. And I'm only saying, man, there's lots of young, impressionable children like my homies who are out there playing games right now and have no idea. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Okay, now in the myth, Odin owns this. Like, there's an extensive myth story, and it's kind of a foundational story to Norse, at least in my mind, right? In my mind. Okay, so when Loki shaves off Sif's hair and they gotta go, he's gotta get some gifts done. This is a story in which Mjolnir was created by these dwarves. So they commission a contest to create these, like, gifts to give to the gods. Which, oh wow, that's surprising. And what they make this. They make Mjolnir, which it goes to Thor. They make like they make a boar, like a boar that can fly, and I want to say that goes to like Freya or something. They get Dropnir, which is this here, and what it does is it multiplies itself every 9 nights. So you start off on, by the end of the month, you got 3 of these bad boys, right? 3 gold rings. And it just keeps repeating, so it multiplies. I don't know if it just multiplies itself once or if it was 9. It might have been something like that, because it was crazy. Like, you would just be stacking gold. Why the dwarves would make this and then give it to somebody? Because nothing they paid you is worth this, right? So just being honest. So this is what it starts off as. Now, by the time it gets to God of War, it's a spear that he can throw an infinite amount of spears. And that's cool. The spears just replicate just like the ring. So they kind of mix some mythology. So again, they're holding on to a little bit of the truth of it. But again, it does get changed. So this is kind of symbolic that in the myth, it was about accumulating wealth was a power. In the game, this becomes like destruction, right? It's just a path for destruction, right? This is what it is. And it's kind of cool. Like, it's a very cool weapon, and I get it. But again, sometimes we gotta, like, at least know the real mythology, and it's kind of cooler to me how they adopted it to this. So this is something that they borrow from the game, and again, this is borrowing on Norse mythology. How respectful it is, I don't know, right? But I'm just pointing it out. Again, I'm a gamer. I love the game myself. I think they did a great job with it. Now, here's the thing. It has a massive cultural impact, this version here, and it's, you know, it's cinematic. This is sold tens of millions of copies all over the world. So all these people, like, in the way that your brain noodle works, your computer noodle works, is you take in subtle things, especially when you're younger and you don't have firm establishments of, you know, some core ideas. You may not know the difference between Greek mythology and Norse mythology. So for some of us out there who are, say, less savvy, you start to associate these things, and these mythologies can start to blur over, which is a shame given how much effort, you know, Greek culture and Norse culture has done to preserve their mythology. So whether Santa Monica Studios has a right to change all that, I don't know. It heavily gets people like, okay, this is an interesting thing because this is how I got into mythology myself. Like, so I go and there's this movie called Clash of the Titans, right? Again, if you went and go see this movie as a kid, right, we know who you are, right? X, right? And I went home and immediately made a diorama about the Greek gods because I was so just, that was my first exposure to mythology. I had no idea what this was going to be like, and I just ate it up, right? I was 100% into it. From that point, I started reading mythology books out of the library, started with the Greek, then I started with the Norse, because none of this other stuff was around. I didn't even know any other people had mythologies. You know, I'm 8 or 10 years old at the time. But I do know there's mythology out there, so I'm down with it. I'm down with the kings. So this was important because this would shape other books that I would read. I'm still heavily influenced by that early reading. Like, you know, that got me into comic books. Like, it was literally, I read Norse mythology and saw Thor, and I just happened to be passing by a comic book aisle, and I was like, Thor! Not knowing, again, this is a very different Thor. I would grow to know that later, but the comic book Thor became more the Thor that I was associated with versus like what the old school Norse, they would say Thor is really about. And I think they know a little bit better, right? So that's kind of, you know, where it is. So it's a legacy that I don't know. Like I said, I'm a gamer, so I'm into it. I'm clearly spreading the message of the game right now. And I fully endorse the game, but I am cautious of saying, oh man, at least on how you guys treat some of this mythology, right? That's all I'm saying, that it can influence and you can affect how people see mythology. And it does matter. And here's why it matters. I'm going to tell you why that matters. Because the original mythologies tell us about the people who wrote it. It's giving us a lot more insight into who they were in a time capsule almost. Like, that's what cultures do. We produce something and it tells you about what we like, what we fear, what we aspire for in the movies that we go to watch. Okay, that's 100% the truth. Or what we fear, like even what we fear. So that's tied up into that. So it has some responsibility, but again, you keep the name of the deities alive. That's all. Otherwise, man, like, let's be really honest, man. If this doesn't come out, there's tens of millions of people less who are talking about Kratos right now, and they were never talking about him in the first place. So for Kratos, you're like, this is a win-win and a mega win, because for the first time, you're on the scene, maybe with a little bit of lean to you, right? Like, you're feeling good about yourself. You're walking tall now, Kratos, and I get it, right? Right? You're casting checks and snapping necks. That's who you are because of this game. So I'm not going to turn on Kratos. You know, he's getting his fame. He's living his best life right now. But we will be cautious, right? And I'm watching you, Kratos. And this is like, this is the next I want to talk about, which is this Age of Mythology. And this is a really good gamer type game if you love mythology. This is a little older game. This is out in 2000. This is 2002 that this one comes out. This is Ensemble Studios, and this is more like a real-time strategy game. And I've messed with this a couple of times myself. I think I have this one, and I have Age of Empires. They're by the same place. So, like, if you were into like Civilization Revolution, you probably would like these games because you have to move in a similar fashion. And maybe I'll do some streaming playing that game. But this game, you get a lot. So you get Greek culture, you get Norse culture, you get Egyptian, and you get Atlantean in there. And the players choose a major god who shapes the civilization's powers. So you can pick Zeus, Poseidon, Odin, or Ra, or some of the examples there, and you get a little bit more. Then the ones that you can play with, you don't control the gods directly, but you get your juice by worshiping the god. So you're playing in our role, right? Whereas the last game, you get to kind of scale up and scrap with the gods. But now these gods, if you worship them rightly, right? Like, right. If you do what gods make you do, which I refuse to do, right? You get special powers, right? You get divine powers, you get mythological bonus, you get all the stuff that are per the culture. So you get, power from each of these. They do a good job of getting the animals in here. They do not play around. You get the Minotaur, you get the Cyclops, you get the Frost Giants, right? You get all kinds. You get elite myth units in there as well, right? So the creatures are these myth units you'll fight against. Man, I gotta get back in this game. The gods have power to dramatically change the battlefield. Meteor storms, earthquakes, lightning strikes. They can summon titans. So this is how the gods can show their favor or intervention in human war, which people say they did all the time. Now, the narrative of this follows a journey of this intersection between gods and titans. So it blends some mythologies into this epic, right? So you're getting a little bit of both. And culturally, this is one of the most beloved, like real-time turn-based games ever created. It has a long history, a legacy of this civilization scale storytelling. So if you're into games and I think the characters all kind of look, they're not bad. Like you got a redheaded Thor, that matters. I feel like Isis is too light-skinned, but I'm always gonna say that. Like if you came from a sun worshiping culture, come on, man, look like you be worshiping the sun. I'm just being honest with you here. Just adding a little more realism to it. So all the characters kind of maybe a little lighter, but they're kind of accurate. Redheaded Thor, Odin looks accurate. All the rest of them I'd say are pretty accurate as far as video games go. So it has this legacy. I think it's all right, and I mess with the game, right? So this is a good one. Now the next one is another like creeper, which man, I gotta admit, I tried to play it and I just didn't really like it as much, and I don't know why. I'm still kind of intrigued by it, and this is SMITE, right? SMITE is like a pretty vicious. Let me go back here. SMITE is a pretty vicious game. This is full on. This is high-res studios. This is like, it's a scrap. It's a free-for-all. You're directing these gods, but you get so many different pantheons. You're going to get exposure to a lot of gods, right? Like honestly, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, man. Like, you got to pay. It's one of those where you're going to be paying a little bit of coin to continue to upgrade, because it's a free game, right? So that comes along with it. They're going to get their coin from you some kind of way, right? Like, it is what it is, right? But all the pantheons that you get for your coin, I think probably make it worth it. Like I said, it's a little chaotic for me. Like, I like to kind of chill out when I game. This ain't really it, right? Like, I like to kick back and just kind of, every now and then I'll play a first-person shooter. But that's when I'm just kind of like, I'm feeling a certain way. So with this game, you get the Greek, you get Norse, Egyptians, Chinese, Japanese, Mayan, Hindu culture, Celtic culture, Arthurian, so Knights of Arthur. You get Slavic culture, which is amazing that they're getting that in there, Babylonian, and Yoruba. So that's a lot, man. Like, they're going all across the world. Africa, they're in the Middle East, they're in Europe, they're in Asia, like they're in South America, they're in the Americas. They are everywhere with the mythology. So in that sense, man, like, I gotta give it up to you, man. Let's hear it for the boy. Let's get a boy a hand, right? Like, that's really doing it down there. And they've been doing this for a while. And then you have the playable gods. So each of the gods that you can play have their own unique abilities that's actually based on myth. So you have Zeus, he has lightning. Thor has hammer teleportation. Anubis has death magic, which Anubis would have never had death magic. Let me straighten things out on you about Anubis, man, because they be doing my boy Anubi wrong, man. They really be up here lying on Anubis, man. Like, you saw that nonsense. Let me see if I can find this nonsense right here, man. I'm going to find something that's really going to tell you about Anubis. Because this is one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet, right? And I'm telling you, you will meet him one day, because he's down in the underworld, right? Like, the art, like, wow. This is so sad. Anubis, right? This is the tragedy of what got put down on Anubis. The nicest guy that you ever want to meet. Because let me tell you something right now. The rest of these guys, they don't care about you at all. They do not. Anubis is one of the few guys who, when it goes down, he's gonna be there for you, right? He's gonna help you out. He's gonna point you in the right direction. Because remember, this is a different kind of underworld. So when you get to the underworld, right, like it's a whole different spot, and you ain't gonna be ready for it. Anubis is one of those guys that is there to help you. But this is what the movies tell you about Anubis. This is what Brendan Fraser And Rachel Weisz chose to tell you about the homie Anubis, right? That he has an army. He has an army of the undead, and they can't wait to get up here and set it off, right? That's what they would have you believe, and it's straight up laughable, man. This is the guy that, like, let me break down what's going to happen in the underworld, right? Okay, you're in the underworld. Okay, you don't know you're in the underworld, but you're in the underworld, and you're like, and you wake up, and you're going to be thirstier than a mug, right? You're going to need some people to guide you around. That's what Anubis does. He takes you by your hand. He guides you around. He doesn't even call you a bitch for not knowing what's going on, right? He treats you with respect because he's a nice guy. That's what he does. So why they associated him with this and this? Now you got death magic now. Do you know how offended he would be by all that, man? Do you understand who Anubis is like? One of the nicest guys around, right? He was not this in any way, and he's not this very stern-looking deity. He's a much like, yeah, I have a jackal head. You guys have dogs. Jackals aren't always bad, but that's what they give him. And now you fully got death. So again, mythology, right, evolves. Mythology is living, and this is what they're seeing is this reinterpretation of Anubis as this complete jerk. We've seen him in a couple movies and a video game being the same way, and that's who you are now, newbie. I don't know if you realize that, but that's who you are. They have evolved your myth. So I hope the money that they put in your pockets felt good. I hope the fame feels good to you, but you're not the same old Anubis that I knew as growing up as a kid. You changed, homie. You changed on me, man. Like, I try to stay consistent with you, and you changed up on me, and I don't really know how to take that, man. But I got to accept your growth, whatever forms it comes in, and you had to do what was right for you, man. You had to go down there and get that coin, and now you got to be a tough guy, mean guy in the movies and stuff. But okay, that's a path you choose. I support you in your path, man, as always, as long as you ain't hurting nobody, although I think you are. So you get all these gods with all these abilities, passive abilities, attack abilities, ultimate attacks. They're all packaged up, and I think you probably got to buy them. That's what I think. I don't know. And ultimately, you do get mythology from all over the world. Now, the game kind of suffers in the same way that, yeah, it doesn't call on a lot. So mythologically, is it accurate? It's all right, considering what they're doing. I guess it could be a whole lot worse, right? So, man, I'm trying to check and see what this notification is. Sorry, guys. It's nothing. Okay. So, as far as the games go, it gives you a lot. It has a great history. It's been around for a long time. This game's legacy is just, it wanted to, obviously, they said from the beginning, we want to bring something where all these guys get together and everybody fights, right? And that's essentially what you're doing. And it is a free-for-all, and you got to be about your business when you turn on this game. But overall, like what we're kind of exploring today is just how these gods have been changing over time, right? We see like 3 representations. It's a lot of gods, and combined, these games, man, these are millions of users or buyers, right, who've been exposed to this game, from little kids to OGs like myself, right? And we, this is kind of what's fueling the conversation about who gods are. So if you're not in on the gamer portion of it, you're missing out how these guys are starting to understand these myths and why they may say or do, the things they do in relation to it. So it was a great time just to stop in, do this in MythLab. I'm glad you guys stepped in. Wish you guys had some comments because I could have, answered your mythological queries, which is what I'm here for. But it's all right. Enjoy the show the way it works for you. I'll be back again, not tonight. I'll probably run some myth streams for you guys tonight. Just some chill out mythology. So if you're into that, I'll probably start those about 9 o'clock Central Time. So just like maybe even 8. So like, you're chilling. Maybe you don't want to watch TV. You just want to have something mellow to listen to while you I don't know what you do when you're at home. Drink some coffee, drink some tea, and just listen to something mellow. That's fine with me, man. I'm here for it. I support you in your endeavor. I support you in your growth, right? I will say that much. I will support you in your growth. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to check out. I'm going to be out. But I'll be back tomorrow doing the next MythLab, which is episode number 16 is coming up now. So we're growing fast, and you guys are a big part of that growth. So thank you for supporting the channel. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about my graphic novel. You guys are going to like my graphic novel. I guarantee. One thing for certain, 2 things for sure. I guarantee that you're going to like this. I put in a lot of effort into it, and I'm making it specifically for you guys. There's nothing more I can give you than that, right? I'm giving you the best of me, man. I'm just giving you all I got in terms of mythology, man. So this is it. Bringing all my time that I spent watching movies and reading comic books and playing video games, and I'm bringing it all back here for discussion about mythology. That's giving back to the community that I love, man. That's me giving back, because I told you guys I changed my life around, man. I'm a new man today. I'm a new Thorogood Jenkins. And if you get that reference, I'm a new Thorogood Jenkins, because we know who you are right there. So anyway, all Melinda, I love you guys too. You guys bring spice and life and a new perspective. So come on in. Let's just holler about it. Let's talk.